I've got Forrest Hunter on the line. He's another musician that reached out about the current interview session. So I'm going to go ahead and give him the chance to introduce himself.
Hi, I'm Forrest Hunter, and I write songs.
All right. Well, tell me about when you started writing those songs. Tell me about when music came into your life and connected with your personality.
Well, ever since, honestly, I think probably when I was about 8 years old, I just fell in love with the band Kiss, oddly enough. And there was nothing like them. Shit, I was probably only 6. Anyways, back in the 70s. And so I just always wanted to play and was never really given the opportunity. So I just pretended and played air guitar and sang Kiss songs while I was spinning their records on my phonograph. And then probably about the time I was about 17, a buddy of mine said, "Hey, you're going to play bass." So this guitar playing friend of ours, his girlfriend's older brother had a bass and an amp he wasn't using. So we just kind of loaned it, if you will, and just started playing like that.
Okay, and you mentioned that was around when you were 17 that started. How did you kind of engage with learning the instrument? Was it entirely trial by fire where they put you in the band setting and they're like, hey, you play this note on this fret kind of thing? Or did you do private lessons or anything?
Pretty much we just jammed in the basement and I learned, and you just kind of, and then I just kind of took it off on my own, and then I would just sit and play for hours and hours and hours and just trying to teach myself as much as I could. Listen, before you could get chord charts and how-to videos on YouTube where you just have to keep rewinding the cassette and learning it over and over again.
So tell me about that band. Did you guys stay together for a while, or was it more kind of just hobby?
It was a high school garage band. It was we were just kids.
I suppose where I'm going with that is, tell me like what you guys were able to do. Was it purely just in the garage, or did you ever get out and play a show, or was it purely just for the entertainment value of playing instruments together?
We just played to play. We never really played. There's one show where they got up and played a couple songs, but I actually had a night job and I had to work, so I couldn't even play in the one show that we actually had. So it was kid stuff.
Well, so what happened next then? How did you kind of continue playing bass and working on music after that?
I should add in, I always wrote down things, pretty much about my senior year in high school, I really started journaling, writing stuff down, poems, parts of songs, and then I got out of high school and got a job, and I kind of didn't do a lot of music for a while. And I was working in this factory, and these older guys were there, and I had long hair, and they're like, "Hey, you don't play guitar, do you?" I'm like, "No, but I play bass." And they're like, "Well, shit, we need a bass player." And we got a gig in 2 weeks. Like, here's 8 cassettes. Here's a list of 50 songs. Go home and learn them.
Oh, geez. Yeah, that's a lot of homework to do.
Yeah, but it was a kid. It was fun, and they were old. They were like older and cooler than me. Like I was like, "Oh my god, I'm playing with all these old rock and roll dudes." And from there, I just moved up to the cities, and I was crashing on this band's couch, and their guitar player they kicked out, and their bass player got arrested or married or something, and then I just wound up in that band.
Okay, so it kind of sounds like you've never really had to seek out a band. They've always just kind of absorbed you.
I don't know if I've just been fortunate to either attract myself to or to draw just really wonderful, talented people to me,
Sure. Yeah, that's great. So tell me about that project then. How long were you with those guys?
Oh, I suppose we played for about 4 years, 5 years, maybe. We all lived together in the same house, and we played up in the cities. We played the Caboose about once a month. We played some other gigs around, a few bars here and there, and whatever we could scrounge up, some parties and stuff like that. And then that band kind of broke up. And then I kind of went on about a 20-year sabbatical where I just always kind of kept a guitar around and played. I wrote a little bit, but I never played out. I never really did much. And then probably about 5 years ago, I just picked it back up again and started stringing these songs together and decided, well, hell, I'm going to make a record.
Okay, so you kind of engaged in your own like solo project then?
Just now?
Well, I mean, when that happened, when you kind of came to that realization that you were kind of going to start focusing on your own writing and stuff, that's when you started writing for your own solo project.
Pretty much.
Okay.
I always kind of co-wrote. I always co-wrote with so the other bands and stuff like that, but we never really recorded anything. And so, and I think I just was always waiting for like, one day I'll have the right band and the right set of people. And I realized that if I waited for that, it was never going to happen.
So were you able to make a full album on your own then and then publish that?
Oh, I have it out right now. I wrote all the songs. I produced it. I'm like a one-man thing, which is why I was appreciative of the heads up for today, because I'm like, oh yeah, I think I forgot about that, but it worked out.
Is that kind of the only project that you have going on right now then? Is this you're focusing all your like creative effort on just your solo stuff?
Well, I play with some other friends in like a little Grateful Dead type jam band, and we play a few gigs a year, and then I would play playing like an acoustic duo with my friend Farmer Josh Reinitz. And so we'll do an acoustic duo or back each other up. But yeah, for the most part, I just decided I want to play my songs. I don't want to play covers. There's a little part of me that feels like I'm stealing when I'm playing cover songs,
So tell me about how that's going for you. Are you out there actually playing shows? You mentioned that it did get published, so it's out there available for streaming and everything.
No, I'm not streaming it. I published it. I put it out only on vinyl.
Oh, okay.
So I just had 300 copies pressed, and I just got them like in November, and I've just been kind of selling them word of mouth on my own. I've sold 100 of them already, and I've got, I bring them along to shows and sell them. I just probably 2 weeks ago popped them into some stores. Can I say names of stores?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like Electric Fetus has it. Cadence Coffee and Records has it. Roadrunner has it. Jaime's has it. And Agarda Records, those 5 up in the cities, and then Toontown in Mankato carries it.
Okay, that's cool. So you're doing a very kind of organic street level distribution where you're ordering the physical material yourself and then essentially doing it on consignment.
Oh yeah, I'm a one-man operation.
That's awesome. That's very not contemporary of how people are doing it these days. What made you want to go that route?
Just my experience in the last 5 years when I started getting back into it. All the cover bands, tribute bands, the massive amounts of streaming and the importance put on streaming and versus the minuscule returns that, your artists get. And one guy was trying to, I shall not name, but he was telling me, the wonderment of he makes like $30 a month on streaming. And I'm like, but it's not even for one of his songs. It's for a cover song he did. And I'm just like, well, it just seemed pointless. I like records. I like the feel, the sound, the vibe. I like everything about the vinyl. And I think I just knew early on that that's the way I wanted to go.
Sure. That's great. I mean, as long as it's working out for you, that's all that really matters. So
well, my expectations are low. Like I'm not trying to get found. I run into far too many, people that think that they're one line or one phrase or one chorus away from writing the next big hit and never having to work, and that's their focus, and they've convinced themselves that if they put it out there, it's going to come back to them. And I'm like, well, if they did that, there'd be 50 million number one songs, because there's so many people that are doing that. And I think I just kind of write the songs organically to get them out, to deal with it, to whatever, just to spit it out. And then I just kind of move on. I don't really have any expectations. I don't necessarily even feel an ownership over them. I just kind of do it.
Sure. So where do you see that progressing to? Are you going to do another album and then release it in a similar way? What do you kind of have on deck for what you're working on?
I hope to. I'm about 65-70% done with my second album. I hope to, throughout the course of the rest of the winter, spring, summer, sell the remaining 200 copies of my debut album. And I've kind of set all that aside, and everything that comes from that goes right into the next one. And I guess I would like to do another 300 of my second album in the same fashion.
Sure. I am very intrigued about it. I think that's really unique that you're doing it that way. You mentioned the stores where people can find that, but do you post anything online? You mentioned that you don't stream, but do you do any sort of promotion online for like when you do shows or anything?
I have like a Facebook page for my music, and Instagram. I post all my stuff on there, and I should say I do have 3 songs out for streaming from some recordings we did like 6 years ago or 5 years ago. And we worked them up and put them out. And I think it was partially just that experience that really cemented that, all right, when I put out this album, I'm not going to stream it. And, I mean, I'm not using the word never, but I don't have plans. I don't have plans to stream it. But it's almost out of my control right now. I'll be happy to sell 300 copies and be able to print 300 of my next album, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, that's very realistic as well. So tell me a couple of your favorite memories that have happened to you during all this time that you've been playing music and working with bands and stuff. What has really kind of made an impact on you to want to continue to make these records?
Probably the biggest thing, like the biggest thrill I've gotten, there are 2 different types, but the same basic thing. Just that some random person off the street that comes up and has heard one of my songs or loves my song and has to tell me about it and thank me for that song. Like that type of organic interaction is like, I'll take one person doing that over 100 other songwriters, massaging my ego so that I will reciprocate. And I feel like I see a lot of that going on, and it just feels kind of, it feels a little bit off to me, So that, and the other one is when I'm playing and I'm playing out, be it solo or with my band, and I'm playing my songs and I see people singing along with them, like that, like those 2 things, just the average person, just somebody out and you capture them and you get inside their mind and they're singing along, whether they, that's kind of a pretty big compliment.
Absolutely. Connecting with connecting with the audience like that is definitely a huge impact. All right. Well, thank you for sharing those. So I always like to give the person I'm interviewing the opportunity to put out their last word. So what's a message that you have that you want to share with other people?
Death to all tribute bands. No. I said that I played at an original music fest a couple of years ago, and I kind of announced that, and one of the guys that was laughing the loudest, he plays in like 2 trivia bands, and he loved it. He thought it was hilarious. And Um, I don't know. Just don't be a dick, I guess. I mean, just keep doing whatever you're doing, but do it for the right reasons. I think is important. I don't know. I'm never really comfortable giving anybody advice or words of wisdom or whatever. Just, I guess you can tell I'm struggling with this one. I guess just be you. Just be you.